Hi beautifuls, welcome back. We are here to dive into 2021 and the astrology and all your must knows. Now, if you haven't sub. If you do want to follow me and you feel this content relates to you individually, please write in the comment section how it does. I love to hear your feedback. Now, we're moving away from a very interesting 2020 and into a very unique 2021 that for a lot of us collectively hasn't happened on this planet before. And we are entering the air signs. We had both Saturn and Jupiter moving into Aquarius. So it is very much that Aquarian age themes coming through. So we're going to tune into this week up until the 8th. What will be coming up for you, what the planets are doing, and how they're going to affect you. Now this month we do have Uranus and Taurus going stationary direct on the 1st. We also have Mars transiting out of Aries and into Taurus, and that's occurring on the 7th. Venus is also transiting into Capricorn on the 8th, and we also, towards the end of the month, will have a Mercury retrograde. We also this year have 3 squaring aspects Saturn is making, which are quite major aspects of this year's astrology. The dates that that's occurring is going to be February the 17th, June the 14th, and December the 24th. Now we'll get deep into your astrology and tell you how this week up until the 8th is going to affect your zodiac sign. Hi beautiful Aries, welcome back. Now let's have a look at your deep astrology weekly forecast for January 2021 from the 1st to the 8th. Now for you guys, Mars has been in your house of the first house placement. We are towards the end of this week going to have Mars transiting out of your first house and into Taurus. Now Taurus links to your second house placement, and this will be there until about March the 3rd. So from January the 6th through to March the 3rd, where it will transit into Gemini, but we'll discuss that further down the track. Now what you can find is your self-esteem may be building from this point. You may need to tap into what you have, your material value, your networking, your professional resources, but it can also be your net worth and your self-esteem and value system. So this will be really highlighting this area, but it'll be taking the pressure off the first house placement. Now we do have quite a bit of Capricorn energy playing out in the chart this month, but for this week, because we did move last month from the full moon in Cancer over to this month, where the first day of the month we are having the moon transit Leo, we're still having those Cancer Capricorn themes playing out. So the shadow side inside that energy can be at times looking at both polarities. So we're also going to be having Mercury in Capricorn sextiling Neptune in Pisces. Now to do with, how do I place this? Let's try and break this down. 10th house placement is your career sector, anything you're working on. Now Mercury will be both communicating and talking. It is sextiling Neptune and Pisces. So, you know, if there was stresses there and you were finding anything you were working on was very difficult, you can be looking at your psychological belief system surrounding these things. It also can be having to tap into your creativity, some things that were hidden deep inside you, as well as any belief systems you had inside of yourself that were holding you back. Now, Mars in the first house does link to your zodiac sign regardless, but when it was retrograde, you might have been doing a lot of internalization and reflecting. Now, as it transits into Taurus by the end of this week, you could be in a very different vibe. But as it amplifies and really moves forward to the 8th, it is moving in a degree point higher and higher. So by the 6th, we have it at 29 degrees, which can be quite tense. So try and be patient with yourself. Aggravation can be high. Maybe even towards yourself and where you needed to be versus where you currently are. Try and just be gentle with yourself, because during Mars retrograde and Aries and Chiron retrograde last year, we were quite fatigued, and it only went direct by mid-month, Aries and Chiron. So anything you spiritually were tuning into, you may have gained more energy as we proceeded forward to Christmas and New Year's, but then we had the full moon in Cancer. So your daily routine, maybe renovating, changing things around, having a lot of guests over, changes to do with your accommodation may have actually occurred, and you were tying those loose ends up. And especially with feminine energies, there may have been points of tension because it is moon energy, which esoterically can relate to feminine energies. Now, I would say that it is important to take stock with shop. Now, what do I mean by that? Making sure that your routine to deal with this astrology moving forward in the first week is balanced. So if you've got everything in order, making sure that you're organized enough to, if you have a lot to do this month, being organized will take that pressure off that. Now, on the 1st, you will have emotions rising in your creative endeavors. You might be tapping into your emotional feeling to do with creativity. This can be with children, it can be birthing, it can be romance, luxuries, and also with Neptune in the 12th house, it may be due to stress and tension. Really thinking about those habits and those routines, you may actually find solutions outside of the 12th house from a healthy point of view to deal with stress levels. Now, these things will be playing out until the 2nd. So pay attention to your thought processes. You know, whatever you're working on, is it causing stress? Is there some way to alleviate that by becoming organized? Now, on the 3rd, we're having the moon transiting Virgo, and this is happening both on the 3rd and on the 4th. Now, both of these are to do with your health, your work, your routine, whether you have got notation, how your diet's going. Are we using things to cope with stress levels? Is it toxicity? So however that's playing out for you individually, paying attention to your health surrounding these days, getting grounded, having time to deal with detail, looking at the bigger picture. Virgo can be really good at perfectionism, but you could actually have emotions relating to perfectifying your life. But because it's falling in the 6th house, again, this can be relating to yourself or others. So just pay attention on the 3rd and the 4th. Where these emotions are coming from. Is it due to the fact that there are things that are unorganized? And is there something emotional going on that you can look at? And potentially, as I mentioned, getting things organized will take the pressure off. And if pressure comes up, journaling and seeing where it's actually linking from. And you may actually find a solution to alleviate that stress. Now, on the 4th, we are having Mercury in Capricorn conjunct Pluto in Capricorn, and this is connected to your employment, anything you're working on. And I do feel for many of you it can be information or a thought process of a situation that you can actually find you're able to transform it. Now, if you do have a light bulb moment or a 3D circumstance play out between the 3rd and maybe even the 6th, I would highly suggest you look at the foundation and see how far that's able to go. So if it's a connection and you're spiritually tuning into it and you put a great deal of work in and you just physically can't see it going the distance, what you would need to do to be able to bring that back onto solid ground. If it's a work in progress, when it comes to employment and something creative, again, looking at the quality systems, it's not a retrograde, it's a direct. But with the 8th house placement, which Pluto is very much linked to, it's looking at the stability inside of that and whether you can see yourself in the long run doing a lot of what you're currently doing. I do feel it's very important also, really between the 3rd and the 4th, to pay attention to paperwork, even on the 5th, paperwork, reading the fine print, due to the fact that we have Pluto there and Mercury in Capricorn, making sure you get all your ducks in a row, making sure that you're reading everything, getting everything on track to prepare for 2021. I know most of us are super tired after 2020, but it's crucially important this month with all the Capricorn energy that we get our ducks in a row so we've got that foundation at which to proceed forward for the rest of the year. And for the next 2 weeks, it's quite important that we do such. So on the 5th, we're having the moon transit Libra. And for you guys, this relates to your emotions, connecting to your relationships, you may be tuning into such and seeing if it resonates, seeing how you feel. Emotions relating to things can be heightened during this time. This can also be relating to our marriages, contracts, partnerships. So pretty much from the 5th and the 6th, really looking at those details and seeing where the emotions are coming from. Are we having cross wires? Again, because Mars is transiting and it is in your first house placement, and you do link to Mars, we do need to be super cautious during this first week as it transitions over to the second house placement. Trigger points, frustration can be coming up. It is direct, which is beneficial, but it's still, as it amplifies through the degree point, can create tension. A lot of you, I feel, emotionally wish for balance, and it is especially going to come up between the 5th and the 6th for you. Mars will also, on this day of the 6th, finalize its placement in your first house placement. We're also having Neptune in Pisces squaring the 9th. And again, your some of your hopes and dreams, some of the things you're looking at, some of the circumstances can be very frustrating, and even potentially even communication on this day. You are required to really pay attention to the North Node in Gemini being your 3rd house placement. And you can feel a bit stifled by not being able to go beyond the skirts of your gate, so to speak. You know, Gemini is quite local area. If you do have children, there can be subjects to do with this coming up. Maybe their schooling, their education. Again, especially at the beginning of the month, because you have 5th house placement, there can be things to do with children coming up or your inner child wounds. I do feel between the 12th and the 3rd house placement with Neptune and Pisces squaring the 9s. We did have the eclipse last month. We've had both the Gemini eclipse and the Sagittarius eclipse. So both of those are still playing out over the next 6 to 18 months for all of us collectively. And with the Gemini energy, anything relating to your movement, if you're out and about all the time, how it's directly affecting you, you know, coping with it, really looking at your psychology. And because we do have Uranus and Taurus stationary direct at the beginning of the month, our nervous system can be very important to actually focus on. So pay attention to your stress levels, to your health, especially between the 3rd and the 4th. Now, after the 6th, as I mentioned, we are having Mars enter Taurus. So with that, it is your 2nd house placement. And this year we are having 3 squaring aspects to Saturn in Aquarius. Now, this is going to be February the 17th, June the 14th, and December the 24th of 2021. Now, do remember, although Uranus and Taurus is direct, we also have Black Moon, Lilith, and Taurus. So we are looking at our shadow inside of these circumstances of maybe, you know, what the light and what the dark is in a situation. Because it's the 2nd house, it can be self-esteem related. It's also your reputation, you know, as you're building up and you're trying to work hard. Your networking, your professional resources, your net worth, your material value. So all of those are set to transform over the next year. With the squaring aspects, there can be difficulties and sudden changes. So do bear in mind through those dates to be prepared prior to that. Gain the themes as we have Uranus and Taurus moving stationary direct. And as it moves forward, you can feel changes in the midst happening, but it's really important to, if you are going to launch anything, you know, following your hunches, but don't do anything super risky. It's not a Mercury retrograde, but we will go into shadow period by mid-month. But looking at that, preparing yourself, getting all your ducks in a row so that you can move the ship forward. Now, I do feel a lot of hopes and dreams and aspirations kind of coming through. And I do feel networking and brand new friendship groups coming through for you guys. We do have both Saturn and Jupiter and Aquarius, but it's going to be deeply important to, after all the karmic energy we had of the Capricorn and Cancer axis, to actually see what we learn inside of those situations. And it could have been flatmating with friends. It might have been home-related dynamics, getting things done, our work, our employment, you know, trying to work from home for some of us. Whatever that was in the last 2.5 years prior to 2021 and 2020, By May, because that's when the nodes shifted, pay attention to that time frame, and there can be themes that we're actually directly implementing at this point, especially in the month of January. Now, with both Saturn and Jupiter landing in Aquarius, what we do need to pay attention to is the fact that Saturn is the place of restrictions, accountability, structure and routine. So, you know, Jupiter's very much on the opposite spectrum of things. It wants to go to that higher ground. It wants to build that ship and you know, build that pyramid and get things going. So it's important not to bite off more than you can chew in the first week. You may be having themes relating to Taurus coming through where they can be transforming, and that can be your net worth, your professional resources, your career sector, but trying to keep balanced. You'll find by the 8th, you're really able to focus in on where you stand inside of your marriages, contracts, partnerships, as well as your career sector with the work that you put into it. So however it's landing for you, be it it's directly something you're working on, your employment and or your relationship sector, there is an opportunity to look at that and to see the value inside of these things. Mercury also on the 8th will be entering Aquarius. So you will tend to find that you can be more busy on social media, maybe having telephone calls, maybe mixing with more like-minded individuals, hearing them out, helping friends potentially. But we do need to balance with both Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius, the give and take in situations. It's very important to, you know, not overextend yourself with the 11th house placement towards those energies or your hopes and dreams to the detriment of your health. If somebody is asking for a loan, for instance, or to borrow something, it's probably not the best time at this point to do such. Probably, you know, over this next month, I would say. And that's due to the placements and how they aspected with Mercury in Aquarius squaring Mars and Taurus. You know, doing your side of what you need to do, definitely with the yin and yang, making sure you're in balance, but making sure you can address different things. Your career sector is set to provide additional resources. And if you are networking and trying to attempt to receive employment, this can be very beneficial. The moon is also transiting Scorpio on this day. And that will really bring up a lot of subjects to do with sharing connections. But the funny thing is, it is the 8th house placement, which is where we do become more connected in. We're taking something to that next level, be it it's a relationship you're currently in, a relationship you're tuning into, or your work. However your emotions are on this day, the funny thing is, Scorpio is hunch energy, but it can be a little bit protective. So just, you know, being accountable. I do see you, especially because you do have Venus in Capricorn and it's linking to your 10th house. You know, looking at the bigger picture of what you're willing to put into things. And this can be a turning point for some of you, where some of you are taking a connection to that very next level. Some of you could be cycling it out, very similar to Pluto, feeling that it's reached its natural cycle. So depending on how it lands for you, it will be something that comes up emotionally for you as you're tuning into this. Definitely be careful not to be manipulated in the first week and give your power away. But ultimately, I feel if you follow your intuition and you can keep yourself grounded, this will benefit you. Now, I see at the beginning of the month for the must-knows, the one thing I would say is if there has been stress and you've been putting pressure on yourself, by the time we do move towards the 6th, that can be really amplified. So try not to be so hard on yourself, you know, during this month. Also, as it does transit over to Taurus, self-esteem energies, especially with the 12th house placement, can potentially come up where you can actually find reasons, potentially emotions where could have potentially have been getting the better of you. Now, I do see heart chakra activation playing out at the beginning of the month for you and linking to inner child and co-creative energies. So most of the lower chakras in the first few days will really be highlighted for you. Your base chakra, your solar plexus, and your sacral chakra. With your 12th house placement, balancing the crown chakra can be helpful. Choosing healthy alternatives This can be holistic, it can be, professional. However it resonates with you, how you directly feel within your discernment, what you feel would be correct for you, following that hunch energy. If you have found that you have been triggered and you've been maybe on the excess of toxicity with caffeine and stress levels, finding healthier alternative ways to deal with that. From an astrological point of view, we do tend to clear the crown chakra through drinking fluid, clear fluid. Also using crystals, clear quartz, amethyst, and guided meditation, and blocking out white noise to get the clarity in areas. I also see a lot of subjects that are coming up in your mind that you're wanting to put to bed and put to rest, make nice with. If this is coming up, I do feel throat chakra will be really amplified for you. Although you don't have third house placement, Mercury's really linking to the 11th house. And I also see Neptune and Pisces being in the 12th. So if there has been something that went down that wasn't so great, that maybe you had different viewpoints, or maybe something was hidden on your side or another's, this is an opportunity to pave that way and smooth things out. And subjects relating to that can really be quite beautiful by the time we do reach the 8th. If you have been doing any work to launch new projects, really the first 2 weeks is quite pivotal for those things to be launched. Also, if you are purchasing large items and expenses, pay very close attention to, what you're getting if it's directly required within the first week to 2 weeks. And that's due to the fact that we're adjusting after 2021, and we do have Mars entering Taurus and Uranus and Taurus. So looking at the reasons in our shadow energy as to, do we really need it? Or is it a more a Venus attribute or an emotional attribute than a physical requirement? But just be cautious on any quick getting rich schemes and things to that degree. But with your 11th house, you can find if you're working really hard and you're trying to bring those things together, if you're advertising, if you're working through social media, however it's resonating with you, if you do want a personal booking, I can tune into your situation individually. But the 11th house placement can be bringing new energies into your life to make those things happen. Now, the new moon that we are having this month is more towards the middle section. It's on the 13th of January 2021, and it's at 23 degrees. So all this Capricorn energy playing out, connecting in with Mercury, connecting in with Pluto. Pay attention to those themes. We're also having conjunction points throughout this week. So any themes relating to your career sector, having a look at it, and getting to the point where you're pulling things together and you're taking that direct action and accountability. If the give and take in the situation isn't balanced, looking at how you can make that happen, but make sure that you're definitely looking at the fine print. You're looking at your psychological evaluation to do with, why am I doing this for? However that fall for you. But it also can be if you feel maybe there's missing information and you need more information, sitting with it or seeking further advice. Also, don't be mad at yourself if suddenly you just don't feel you resonate with things, but you could be almost walking through that door where you're manifesting that. So just be careful what you are choosing to get rid of, especially with all the conjunction points with Pluto at the moment. You may need some things later. Okay, beautiful Aries, have a wonderful month. Please stay tuned. At times I come live, I do put info in the community tab. Also, we're going to be having a lot more updates in 2021 via Yildiz Readings 5D. We have weekly forecasts, we have astrology, we've got moon energies, human resonance updates, chakra reports, twin flame journey, and more. So stay tuned. The best is yet to come. Now, if you do want more content like this and you do feel this video resonates with you, please comment, please click the bell, like, share, and subscribe. Love and light. Look after yourselves. I'll see you soon.